Okay, welcome to the new video. Today we're going to discuss Physics O Levels, May June 2023, Paper 1, Variant 1. So let's start with the first question. The first question says the student wishes to measure directly the circumference of the ball of a football. What is the most suitable instrument to use? You know the football size is a big one, so you will not be using micrometer for that. A ruler is very straight, so it does not bend, so it cannot measure the circumference of that. Clock is not a suitable apparatus to measure circumference. It is used for the time. So the only thing which is going to be used is a measuring tape, because you can bend it, so you can bend it around the circumference of the football. So whenever the ball is a little bigger than that of a golf ball, so you can use the measuring tape to measure the circumference of that. Which equation contains two vector quantities? um, in this, acceleration is a vector quantity and velocity is also a vector quantity, but time taken is not. Let's see the other ones. Average speed is not a vector quantity, distance is not, time is not, density is not, mass is not, volume is not, length is not, width is not, height is not. So A is the only answer. The forces of 6 Newton and 8 Newton acts as shown. Which diagram shows the resultant force R of these two forces? Now you will use head to tail rule. Let's take first vector as 8 Newton, so it will be 8 Newton. And then if you want to take second vector as 6 Newton, so the tail of the first second vector has to coincide with the head of the first vector. So this is 8 and this is 6. Now the resultant is from the first vector tail to the second vector head. That is going to be the direction. And since you don't there is no magnitude of r shown here, only the direction is the one that you need to know. So you're going to find the resultant like this. So if you can see that in only A, your direction and the angle also like is the same like yours, so A can be the answer. B is wrong, C is again wrong, that due to the direction it's going opposite way. D is again wrong. So let's move on to the fourth one. A speed time graph of a journey of a car is shown this. What is a distance time graph? So first of all, let me get a quick revision of that. If speed time graph is a straight line, the distance time graph will always be a curve with an increasing gradient. And when the speed time graph is a horizontal line, it will be a straight line with a constant gradient. So you will going to see that the curve in which the first part is increasing gradient and then a straight line, that is going to be your answer. So let's see, yeah, we can find out that in B. The gravitational field strength on Earth is 9.8. The gravitational field strength on Mars is 3.7. The difference between the weight of the object on Mars and the weight of the object or weight of the same object on the Mars is 25. The difference between the weight of the object on Earth and the weight of same object on Mars is 25. What is the mass of an object? So that's easy. Let's see. It says the weight on the Earth minus weight on the Mars is equals to 25. So as you know, weight is equal to mg. So 9.8 m is going to be the weight on the Earth, and 3.7 m is going to be the weight on the Mars. So when you want to subtract it, you're going to get 6.1 m is equals to 25. So when you want to divide this, you will get 4.1 kg. So question number 5, your answer is C. In question number 6, it says student determines the density of a solid metal cube. Which piece of equipment does the student uses? So he wants to know the density of the solid metal cube, right? So Since it's a cube, so it's a regular shape, so you don't need measuring cylinder for that. So your C and D is going to be eliminated, because this is for the irregular object. So you will need a balance and a ruler, because for with the ruler you're going to measure the sides of the cube. Since it's a cube, so it is going to have a same side every length, so you're going to measure only one side, and then you're going to find the volume of cube is equal to V is equal to L cube, and from the balance you're going to measure the mass, and then you will use the formula of density is equals to mass over volume to find the density. So that is going to be your B. Question number 7 says the diagram shows the only two horizontal forces acting on the trolley, that is accelerating at 0.12 meter per second square. What is the mass of trolley? That's very easy. You know, this is a forward force, this is a backward force. So in this F is equal to ma, this force is the resultant force. So resultant is forward minus backward, and since we need to know the mass of the trolley, acceleration is given, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to subtract this. You're going to get 2.4 is equals to m into 0.12, and when you're going to divide this 0.12 here, you're going to get m as 20 kg. So your answer is C. The spring is stretched to the different lengths by a variable force. The graph shows how the size of the force depends on the length of which spring is stretched. You need to see this very important point here. This is a force against the length of the spring, not the extension. If it would have been the force against the extension, it would be passing through the center straight line. Since it's not passing through the center, so it is the length of the spring. So what is the spring constant K? Spring constant K is actually, you know, F is equals to Kx. So F over X is equal to K. So the gradient of this graph, which is this is change in force over change in extension, that is going to give you the gradient of the graph, that is K. So let's see what we can find out here. Let's start from here. It is, the force is 8. We're going to take these 2 points for the gradient. Here I'm going to take X as 30 and Y as 8, and I'm going to take X as 10 and Y as 0. So Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1 for the gradient. So that is going to be 8 over 20. So if I'm going to simplify, that is going to be 4 over 10. So that is going to be 0.4. So your answer to 8 is B. A uniform horizontal beam is pivoted at its right hand end is in equilibrium. The force of 16 Newton acts vertically upward at the beam, as shown. What is the weight of the beam? So that's very easy. Sum of clockwise moment is equal to sum of anti-clockwise moment. Since there is one clockwise and one anti-clockwise moment, so we don't need like sum of them. This is your clockwise, so you're going to be 60 times the distance from the pivot, which is 50. Now since it's an MCQ, so you don't need to convert it into meters for this. If it would have been in theory, you would have to convert that into meters. Now weight of the beam is W and the distance of the beam is 30. So I'm going to divide this 30 here, because this is your anti-clockwise moment. So 60 times 50 over 30 is going to be W, which is going to be 100. A constant frictional force acts on an object for a short amount of time, causing the momentum of an object to decrease. Which expression is used to calculate the time for which the force acts? So time is going to be the change in momentum over force. Let me write down the formula for that. Force is equals to change in momentum over time. So time can go here and force can come here. So yes, that seems to be a correct formula, but let's see the other formulas as well. Time is equal to change in momentum into force. That's wrong. So time is equals to momentum over force. That's not momentum, that's change in momentum. So that's why we use delta P for that. So that's wrong as well. So time is equal to force momentum into force, that's also wrong, so only A is the right answer. A large stone is rolled onto a lorry using a ramp. The length of the ramp is given, the height of the ramp is given, the length, and the stone is lifted height h. The mass of the stone is m and the weight of the stone is w, which expression is equals to the useful work done on the stone. Now that is very important, on the stone. So since the a stone is being lifted to a height of h and it has a force which is w, so we're going to say this is mgh, this is work done against gravity, so that is going to be your answer. The diagram shows a burning candle. Which energy is associated with burning candle? That's very easy, it's a chemical. In all fuels there is a chemical energy. An African elephant has a mass of 6,000. Each of its 4 feet has an area of this. The gravitational strength is this. What is the average pressure due to the elephant when it is standing stationary on all 4 feet on the level ground? So area is of one leg, you need to multiply times it with 4 to get the total area, because he has 4 legs, so that is going to be 0.8. Now you'll be using F is equal P is equals to F over A. Force is given 60. I'm going to use 6,000 times 9.8 over 0.8. So when you're going to calculate this, you're going to get 74,000 as an answer. Which rows describe the shape and the volume of the liquid as at a constant temperature? Since the temperature is constant, so volume will not change. But if we say the shape and volume of the liquid, you know that shape of the liquid is not fixed but volume is fixed. It only changes when the temperature increases, because the liquid starts to expand. Since it's constant, so volume is not changing. And if you see, you can take any container, like you're going to pour into the glass, it is going to take the shape of glass. If you're going to pour into a plate, it's going to take the plate shape of plate. So that does not matter. Which row shows how the forces and the distance between the particles in a solid generally compared with the forces and distance in the liquid. So this is pretty easy. Forces between the particles in the solid are always stronger, and distance between the particles in the solid is always smaller. So it's B. So an incomplete statement about the latent heat is given as latent heat is the dash required to overcome. So it's energy required to overcome the bond between the molecules and the this change the state of a substance. So 16 is going to be A. A cold solid is placed on the top of a hot solid. Thermal energy is transferred from a hot solid to a cold. What is this explanation for this? So in 17 it says a hot solid so in A part it says the hot solid expands, so the particle moves further apart. That's wrong. The energy is transferred from one particle to another. Yes, that's correct, but let's see the other ones. Heat always rises, not in radiation. Molecules are free to move randomly through the solids, they are not free to move. A house to be thermally insulated to reduce the thermal energy loss and reduce the fuel cost. He says loft insulation installation cost is $300. Energy cost save is $300 per year. Okay. Double glazed installation cost 4,000. Energy saved is 400 per year. Cavity wall installation costs $700. Energy save is $200 per year. Drought proving installation cost is $100. Energy cost save is 30 per year. What type of thermal install paybacks the cost of installation in the shortest time? So that's always a loft installation because it gives you the installation cost within a year. No other one gives the same thing. The diagram shows the two diverging rays of the light from the object being reflected into the plane mirror. At which position is the image formed? That's very easy. You're going to backtrack this and this, and they're going to meet at B. And you should be remembering that it is always opposite to the object. It is at the same distance from the mirror that of an object. A light is incident on a mirror at an angle of 45 as shown. The mirror can be rotated about axis into the page through the point X. A mirror can be rotated about an axis into the page through the right. The mirror is rotated until the light is reflected back along its path. Through which angle is the mirror rotated? That's very easy, because at this point if you're going to draw the perpendicular, you're going to get a 45-degree angle. So if you're going to rotate that 45-degree more, that is going to give you a 0 angle, so it will reflect back at the same path. So it is going to be 45-degree, but it is going to be a clockwise because it has to go this way. When it's going to go this way 45-degree, the light will come 45 here and go back. Sorry, I said 45, it's 90. A ray of light incident on a plastic block in the air at an angle of incidence I, a refractive index of plastic is n. The light ray reflected along the positive boundary reaches x, right? Which equation is correct? So now in 21 it says n is equals to sine of I over sine of r, right? So as you can see, angle of incidence is not given, but angle of refraction is given. So I'm going to just say n is equals to sine I over sine 45, sorry 41, I'm saying 45, I don't know why I said 45, it's 41 because this is angle of refraction. So when I'm going to take this sine 41 to the other side, so it is going to be sine 41 times n is equals to sine I. So that's C. Diagram shows a white light entering a prism. What happens at the point X and what is the color of the light that strikes the screen at the point Z? So it is dispersion of light, but at the same point it's a refraction as well. So it's not dispersion only, it's dispersion plus refraction, and it is always red on the top. It is going to be ROY BIV. This is how the pattern forms. Which row names a region of electromagnetic spectrum with a wavelength longer than that of visible light and a region with a frequency that is greater than that of a visible light, right? So the wavelength longer than visible light is going to be the region, because we have a VXU, GXU. This region is wavelength greater and this region is frequency greater. So either it's going to be infrared, micro or radio. So it is on the A side, it's either infrared, micro or radio. A, B, C, D is wrong. Frequency, either it's gamma, it's X-rays or ultraviolet. So it's ultraviolet, Radio wrong, A wrong. So A is the right answer. Sound travels at a different speed in different states of matter. Which list gives us three state of matter arranged in order of speed of sound light from the smallest to the fastest? So it always travels slow in gases, medium in liquids, and fastest in solids. The bar magnet and the various non-magnetic and demagnetized metal bars are placed in a different arrangements as shown. In which arrangements do bars repel? Iron never repels a magnet. It is always going to be attracting it. So he is wrong. Copper is a non-magnetic material. This is going to be attracting each other because they are opposite poles, uh, and this is like poles, so they're going to repel it. A student uses a wooden clamp and stands to hold freely suspending bar magnet. The diagram shows the experiment when the student holds the bar magnet next to the suspended magnet. In the experiment 2, the student holds the iron bar next to the suspended magnet. In the experiment 3, the student holds a steel bar next to the suspended magnet. These are the three. In which experiment does the suspended magnet move? Oh, interesting. So now this is going to attract, this is going to attract, and this is going to attract because they both are magnetic materials. Yes, the only difference is this is going to be a permanent and this is going to be a temporary. In an electrostatic experiment, the plastic rod is rubbed with a cloth. The cloth becomes negatively charged. So it means cloth might have gained electron, right? Might not. It had gained electron. That's why it's a negatively charged. So the rod has lost electrons. So rod should be positive and cloth should be a negative, right? So C and D is automatically wrong. So in B and A it says proton moves, so proton never moves, so that's wrong as well. So it's a electron moves from a rod to onto the cloth. An object X is a stationary positive charge. It experiences a force due to the field produced by an object Y. The arrow shows in the direction of the field produced by Y. Which statement about the direction of the force on X is correct? It is towards the right because it is in an electric field, stationary and positively charged. Okay, right. Okay, so it is going to it is towards the right. That's correct, and because it is in electric field. Because reason, because positive charge always gives out the field lines, so it means this is also positive and this is, he has told that this is a positive, so it is going to be repelling this, so it is going to be getting a force to the right. The diagram shows the battery of the three 1.5 volt cells. What is the advantage of these arrangement of cells? The battery can supply the current for a longer time than a single 1.5 cell. That's correct statement, but let's move on to other ones. The battery can supply any EMF between, that's wrong. That should have been in series then. The battery supplies more energy each coulomb of charge. No, that does not apply. The EMF of the battery is 4.5, that's wrong as well. So only A is the right answer. Potential divider consists of a light dependent resistor and the resistor connected to a 6-volt battery. The output is 3 volt. What is the resistance of LDR? So if the output is 3 volt, so there should be 3 volt as well, so it means they have equal resistance, so that should be 10,000. Three students each suggests a consequence of a wiring lamp in parallel rather than in series? Student 1, if one lamp breaks, the other lamps stay lit. That's correct. The lamp can be switched on and off separately. Yes, that's correct. PDF across each lamp is equals to the PDF across the supply. Yes, all three students are correct. Which diagram, when a wire is moved downward between the poles of the stationary magnet, an EMF is produced across the X and Y. Which action produces an EMF across X and Y in opposite direction? So it's going to be move both a wire and a magnet upward at the same speed. No, that's going to be considered as stationary. The wire is kept stationary and the magnet is moved upward. That's going to be the same thing. That's not going to produce in opposite direction. The wire is moved downward and the magnet is moved upward. That's going to be producing again in the same direction. The only magnitude will be greater for this. The wire is moved upward and the magnet is kept stationary. That's in opposite direction. The AC voltage is displayed on oscilloscope screen. The Y gain is set to 2 volt per centimeter. What is the maximum value of the voltage? So that's 4 volt. The result of a scattering experiment shows that a very small nucleus contains most of the matter in an atom. What is a scatter in this experiment? Scattered in this experiment. So since it shows it is an alpha scatter experiment, so it's going to be alpha particles. It is known by the name of alpha scatter experiment. Atoms P and Q are isotope of the same element. How does the composition of P compares to the composition of atom of Q? Number of protons has to be same, number of neutrons has to be different. The nucleus of an atom emits alpha particle. How does the proton number and a nucleon number is changed? Alpha is the nature of alpha is a helium nucleus. So you know in helium it has 4 atomic mass and 2 atomic number. So the proton number will be decreased by 2 and nucleon number will be decreased by 4. So it is going to be A. The diagram shows how the thickness of the paper is measured during manufacture. If the sheet is too thick, the fewer beta particles can reach the detector. So that's shown, right? Why are beta particles used for this purpose? Alpha particles are all stopped by the paper. Yes, that's correct, but let's see the other ones as well. Alpha particles makes the paper radioactive. No, that's wrong. Gamma radiations are all stopped by the paper. They are not. Only produced by the source that with the shorter. No, that's wrong as well. So only A is right answer. A sample of tritium has a mass of 32 milligram. Tritium has a half-life of 12 years. How much of the sample of the tritium decays in 36 years? So that's easy. In 12 years it is going to go to 16. In next 12 years it is going to go to 8. In the next 12 years it is going to go to 4. So that's 36. Oh, there's only one problem here. In the statement it says how much of the sample of tritium decays in 36. So 4 is left, 28 is decayed. Right? You need to read the statement clearly. So 28 milligram is been decayed. Left is 4. It takes 27 days for a moon to orbit the earth. The average value of the radius of the moon's orbit is 3.8 into 10 to the power of 8. What is the average orbital speed? So that's easy. That is going to be 2 pi r over t. It says 27 days. So you're going to use 2 into pi into 3.8 into 10 to the power of 8 divided by 27 into in a day there are 24 hours, there are 60 minutes in an hour and 60 seconds. So you can convert that into all, and let's use my calculator. We get 30,000 as an answer. What is a nuclear reaction that takes place in a stable star? So in a stable star, it's never a fission. So A and B is wrong. Fusion of helium into hydrogen, that's wrong. That's opposite. Fusion of hydrogen into helium. Yeah, D is right answer. So I hope I've tried to solve it as quick as possible and explaining each and every question. So hope you've liked it. If you've liked it, kindly give a comment and show some support for this video. See you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.